Welcome back to my channel. I am your favorite mama of three, Bougie Vintage, and today's video is a DIY, but also kind of just Valentine's Day inspo. So, as you guys know, I do have a design background. Shout out to my mom, and shout out to the school that I went to for pattern drafting, okay? I love fashion, and I want to obviously bring way more fashion content into your lives. So, today we are going to start our Valentine's Day looks, and we are starting with a two-piece outfit that I designed and created from scratch, but I'm gonna give you guys the shortcuts so that you can make it yourself. Okay, so before I even drafted my pattern, the first thing I did was grab my iPad and go to Procreate, and I sketched out what I envisioned for this Valentine's Day look. And so that is what you are seeing here. When I was in Procreate, I drew out the actual pattern pieces in miniature. So pretty much I wanted to visualize how the pattern pieces were going to look, because that's just how my brain needs to see it so that I can feel it and believe it, girl, and make it come to life, okay? So of course the next step after that was to grab my essential tools and get to drafting. Now for you guys at home that are, wanting to make this pattern, obviously I did not make the pattern printable or anything like that, okay, because it is custom to my body. And so what you can do is grab your favorite mini skirt. Mine, the one that I'm going to show you guys in the video, is, I think I got it at Simon's, and it's just this blue mini skirt, and it is the perfect length and the perfect shape, okay, to bum. So you can bum this pattern and then chop and screw it and make it your own. For me, I drafted my skirt pattern from scratch. That is a very long process. Not as long as a bodice now, but it's a long process to draft from scratch. And so I figured it would be easier if you just had something that you could go off of, because you really just need the general shape. Once I drafted my skirt pattern, or bummed this pattern, I cut it out, I added my seam allowance, and then I went ahead and cut out my skirt in muslin. You don't want to make a mistake on your actual fabric, so muslin is always something that's great to have on hand. For me, I have a lot of muslin because it's really cheap, it's really affordable, and it's perfect for doing your mock-ups, and you can write on it and you can draw on it and you can size it to perfection. And then when you're done that, you can then take those same pieces, undo them, because you obviously would have used an ease stitch to put them together. You undo it and then you just lay that on your actual fabric, and your skirt or your top or whatever you're making will come out perfect. I'm gonna mark it at 7 inches because that would be halfway, right? Halfway. And again, using the square part of my ruler. I should actually have my actual square in here, but I don't. Using the square part of my ruler, I am going to draw a line across. So you're probably like, okay, why are we drawing this line? Because we are deconstructing the skirt and sewing it back together. This is your cut line. You're gonna cut this because you need it cut in half, but that's not where you're going to end. So this is already a quarter of your pattern, right? Because you would have this piece, then the next piece, then the two back panels, right? But this is a quarter. So since it's a quarter, we're gonna go with 4. So at the 4-inch mark, and it's not a straight down line, it needs to be on an angle because that is the design we're going for, okay? So once we have that like that, this is also a cut line, so you could write cut, okay, or slash, you can write slash there. Then on the bottom, you're going to do the same thing, but your angle is going to go this way. Okay, so this, when you cut 2, is going to give you a trapezoid shape. And honestly, this top line, I feel like I can take it a little bit further in. So we're going to do that. I like that better. You need to label everything because you don't want to get confused. So you could label this A, B, and then your bottom C and D. And you also want to label that this is the side seam bottom. So you don't get confused. You need these labels, girl. Need them. Side, seam, top. You know that this is the cut on the fold. And then also you want to make sure you're adding seam allowance to these or your skirt's going to be too small. So what you're going to do is cut this out, and you can either retrace it and add the seam allowance on so you don't have to worry like when you're cutting to remember, because I'm very bad for that. But you need to add 1/2 inch to all your slashes. Add 1/2 seam, add 1/2 seam. Now if you write it on here, I mean, you shouldn't really forget when you're cutting, but it is still possible that you might. So your best bet is to retrace, but you don't have to. So everything that you cut needs to have a seam allowance added to it, or your skirt's not gonna fit. Now, I of course had some troubleshooting to do, because when I drafted my skirt pattern, I did draft a front and a back panel, but because of how I drafted my pattern, it had darts in it and stuff, and so that would require me to remove the darts. And so I was pretty much drafting a basic block, because I didn't bring my skirt block from school that I had made. I really didn't even know I was going to be sewing the way I'm sewing. I really didn't think I would be, so that's another story for another day. But because of that, I actually ended up saying, because the skirt is pretty much, you know, symmetrical because of the shape of it, I kind of just want to do one panel front and back. When I cut the muslin, I decided I would just use the front muslin as the back as well, and it should fit. Well, that's not exactly what happened. So because that wasn't what happened, I did have to take off a lot of extra fabric, and I was like, what is going on here? Because when I actually cut the muslin, I did it with the back piece. I did it with my back block and my front block, but it was too big, and so it looked like the front piece was, you know, sides aligned and stuff, but for whatever reason it really wasn't. Okay, my eyes was playing tricks on me, and so I had to cut off, I think, 4 to, was it 8 inches? I think it was 4 inches on each side I had to get rid of to make my skirt fit the way that it fits me now. Okay, so you don't want to be like me and have to go back to the drawing board so many damn times, because I was so eager to get the project done because I knew I needed to get it up in time. I wanted to get it up for the Valentine's Day trends online, and so I was rushing to get my project done, but that's problematic. So I ended up having to go back to the drawing board and restructure and cut and sew and figure it out. But of course, because I was working with muslin, it made my life easier, and it turned out just fine, right? And so, boom, we got the top, we got the bottom. What the hell's in my mouth? We got the bottom. Let me just lay it this way. We got the top, we got the bottom. Are you seeing the vision, darling? Red. This is the side of the top. We got the side and this side. Okay. Tray cute, tray cute. This is all the panels that we're going to need, and it's just going to be repeated on the back side. So like this is going to be attached to another red piece at the back, and this is going to be attached to another pink piece at the back, and the pattern is going to continue all the way around. Okay, I'm going to get to stitching my pieces together. So how I'm going to stitch it, I stitch the top and the bottom pieces together, top and the bottom, and then I stitch the sides together. So I'm going to go and do that. How stinking cute! No, how cute is this? Literally. So that's one panel. So that would be the front. This would be the back. Or the front. Don't matter because it's the same. I have to press it, of course. Iron it, flatten it as flat as possible. And then I am going to line it, and I'm going to choose the pink lining because the red is already pretty opaque. You have to be constantly fitting your clothes when you're sewing something. You have to fit and then sew and then fit and then sew and then fit and then sew until it's perfect. Otherwise, you're going to run into issues. So I cut the skirt block and then I traced the skirt to make my lining. I traced the skirt flat and then put it together. After I did that and my skirt was done, of course putting in a zipper and a hem, I then moved on to the top. Originally, I had no idea what I wanted to do for the top, okay? I was like struggling because I needed it to be quick, but I also needed it to be chic, and I also needed it to not be a corset because I have Valentine's Day corsets that I'm going to be making as well. So I was like, what's the quickest thing for me to do? Oh, a tube top. Now, this tube top was not supposed to have bone in it, but I'm a sucker for some bone in my clothing, okay? I love a good structured garment. So I did end up putting 3 bones in here. There's one right here, there's one in the center, and there's one right here. So pretty much beside the on the princess seams and down the center. However, when I was drafting this top, I knew that my princess seams were not going to be real princess seams, and they weren't going to be in the right spot because your princess seam should go through the bust point. These were really just style lines, okay? These are not real princess seams because a real princess seam is not going to be this far over. I could have put my princess seam should be about right here. That is another 2 inches over from where I have it, and that will also accentuate your waist, make your waist look even tinier. And so princess seams are really, really sexy and flattering, and I personally love princess seams, but for the purpose of this video and rushing through my garment, I didn't do the proper way to do princess seams. I literally just took my ruler and curved out what I thought looked good on paper, and then I sewed it together. And so the top didn't take me long to draft. All I did was, again, go back to my iPad, draw it out on my iPad how I thought it would look so that I could visualize the skirt and the top together, and I really liked it. So I was like, okay, let's move forward. After that, I then cut it in muslin to check to see if it fit. It fit. Once it fit, I then used the muslin to cut out my fabric. I sewed my fabric together, and now we're here. So for the top pattern, I did not use my bodice block. What I did was take my tube top, which is from Amazon. I will link it below. I traced out my tube top, and then I added some inches to it because the material of the tube top is not the material that I was sewing with. I am going to quickly bum this 4-way knit. Okay, it's a jersey material. It stretches every which way. The material that we're working with the Valentine's Day red and pink, is not a 4-way. I am gonna have to cut it on the bias. So pretty much what I'm gonna do is fold my tube top in half. I'm gonna try to get it as flat as possible because there is a built-in bra. I have this tube top in every color. Shout out to Amazon. Okay, so I've lined up the tube top, folded in half, and I'm gonna trace around it, but I know I'm gonna have to add way more space. This tube top is very form-fitting. It hugs me. That's how I want my material to fit me, but because it's such a different material, I cannot do that. This has so much stretch in it. Even cutting on the bias is not. So I have increased my bust because I know, like, I wear like a 36 bra, so I modified this pretty much to like my bra size. It's coming down on the front of it. I think I want to square this off. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is add my seam allowance, which I'm going to again work with 1 inch. We're just going to use our curve, and we're gonna eyeball the princess. This is very, very not good, okay? Don't follow me. Don't copy me, because this is not how you get a princess seam. But because I'm bumming the pattern, I have no idea where the bust point is. So I'm just going to do this and pray for the best. I mean, that actually looks quite all right. I'm going to move it over just a little bit. My camera's about to die on me. And for the back piece, I'm going to use the same shape, but I'm just going to take the curve out of it. So I'm going to cut that. Can y'all see them dashes? Probably not. Okay. So to take the curve, so to get the back panel, I'm just going to eliminate that curve. And that will be my back piece. So at this point, I can cut out this pattern piece. I'm going to cut out both pieces and then add my seam allowance to here and here. So I'm going to do 1/2 inch seam on both pieces. I thought about putting a dart in it, but I'm going to not complicate my life, because without knowing where my bust point is, cutting and slashing a dart would not be wise. This material is very sturdy, it's heavier, there's not a lot of stretch to it, and I also knew I was gonna have to cut this on the bias. The red fabric did not have as much stretch as the pink fabric, but they were still a very similar density, so, or heaviness, so they worked well together. Because if you have two fabrics that don't work or that are not similar and you try to sew them together, like if I had like a velvet or something and a cotton and some other random cotton or a polyester, it would be more difficult to sew. So that's something to keep in mind. You want to make sure you have fabric that is similar in weight and thread count, I guess. So the pink fabric, when I cut it on the bias, it was really stretchy, and then the red fabric, when I cut it on the bias, it wasn't as stretchy, but it still gave me stretch, and I needed that. The other thing is, when I put the zipper in at the back, I put the zipper in upside down, and I'll insert a photo of what it looks like, because the reason I inserted the zipper upside down, and I believe it's an invisible zipper we purchased, because they didn't have separating zippers that were the right color at the fabric store, which was like, oh my god, I'm gonna have to order me a barrel of zippers, girl. I'm gonna have to order me a barrel of stuff from Fabricland in Canada and get it over to me, because they don't have everything that I want at some of the fabric stores out here. So I got what I could. They had the right color zipper in invisible, and so I went with an invisible zipper at the back, but we didn't really put it in like an invisible zipper. It's kind of put in like how an invisible zipper would be put in, but not exactly. Now with the zipper, the reason I inserted the zipper upside down is because my waist and my boobs are very much different, okay? My boobs, I'm very full chested, and my waist is, what waist, girl? I don't have a waist. I'm just joking. My waist is a lot smaller than my chest, okay? And so pretty much, if I put the zipper in right side, if I put the zipper in opening at the top and going to the bottom, I wouldn't be able to get into the top. But because my bust is so big, I knew that if I put the zipper in upside down, so if it closed at the top and I zipped it downward, it would allow for me to get into the top and also close the top, no problem. And you can also add a hook and eye on the skirt as well as the top, but I haven't put the hook and eye on yet. That being said, you're gonna want separating zipper in your top. That's gonna be the best thing for you. But if you can't get a separating zipper and you have another zipper that you wanna put in, then definitely insert it with the bottom of the zipper at the top of the shirt. And I mean, as for everything else, I mean, happy Valentine's Day. Well, happy early Valentine's Day. I hope this is outfit inspo for you. Utterly obsessed with the outfit. I think it's so cute. I would definitely make it in other colors. And I hope that this fashion video inspired you. I don't want to take too much of your time up, because I know y'all attention span when it comes to DIYs is not long, okay? I'm fully aware, okay? Fully aware. So I just wanted to make this quick video to show you guys a look that you could achieve for Valentine's Day. And I mean, if you're really risking it, you could do this no-sew. You could use fabric glue and glue your patches together, girl. Iron them, you know, maybe hand stitch here and there to make sure it doesn't come apart, and, you know, do the damn thing. But me, I'm a sew. I love you all so much. Tell me how you guys feel about this outfit below, and I will definitely see you in my next Valentine's Day video. I have a few Valentine's Day contents for you coming up, and I can't wait to share it with you. I will see you in the next one. Is she not the cutest?